All right. Hey guys, this is Brian Pellegrino, also known as Primo, here with Run Chucks. So we're doing the commentary today, kicking off the Galfond challenge. Run Chuck, say hi if you want.
Hey, hey.
Big-ish pot brewing on the right. It seems like it was a 3-bet possibly and a small c-bet. I didn't see the pre-flop action there.
Yeah, me neither. I missed it. If there was a 3-bet, then definitely on this type of board we would see a small c-bet. It would be
Yeah,
unlikely.
somebody is saying exactly that. Venny 3-bet
Yeah.
and then c-bet small.
Right. It's pretty typical line, a c-bet small on this board. He's going to do it with a very high frequency on the queen-queen small, especially the rainbow one. And then checking back, the fourth turn is very, very standard. I mean, obviously, what I mean by standard is that a high frequency of hands, or he's going to do it with a high frequency rather.
Yeah, sure. 1/3 pot on the river. Phil, after checking back twice, raises. Chips a small one on the left. So Phil here, they're like, oh wow. Okay, that's quite interesting.
Oh yeah, that's a huge one, right? Because
Yeah, I mean Phil's only got 6,500 behind, but it's going to be a 30, 35K pot if Phil calls, but he folds. Pretty big pot brewing here on the right. Getting close to 10K. We'll be over 10K if we get a bet in. And Venny with again is his 1/3 pot here. So pretty. It seems to be his most frequent river size at this point. It's just like 1/3 pot. And Phil with a pretty
another
boss raise on the river. I like it. So Phil with 3-5
And
just for a solid boat.
absolutely, yeah. That's
Maybe
exactly the hand that makes me believe that there's something amiss here. Phil's just making his life a bit too difficult in some spots for sure. And
Yep.
also, all these crazy 3-bets on the river seem to happen mostly on paired boards. I don't know why Phil is is getting into these situations. It's kind of unlikely to be in a situation like this so often in such a short time. And Venny
Yeah.
is definitely onto something here.
Yep. Yeah, and you've seen it kind of every day. Um, that specifically that river aggression. Vinny's river aggression has just been so much higher. It's clearly coming out to attack something that Phil is doing.
Hmm.
So Phil pots the river on the left, 3-bet pot on the right for Venny. Venny jams again over this pot, also paired board.
Yeah.
It's sick, man. Like I said, his regression. It's fun to watch. I want to see more showdowns, but it's really crazy. Yeah, another fold. And
Yeah.
so
What's
Phil had
crazy
this.
is, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Phil had this great post on Twitter yesterday, just sort of like, or maybe it was this morning, on his mindset going into the challenge, and just like, listen, he's he's already down 400K. That's in the past. He's not really gonna dwell on that or worry about that. He's not even worried about winning the challenge overall. Because right now when you're stuck 20 buy-ins, it's like you're gonna have to do a lot of crazy things to, if that's your mindset, that I got to win the challenge, I've got to win the side bet. So really, his focus is winning from here on out. Is kind of, it's cool to see. His mindset is just awesome. It's super impressive.
Mm.
Really
That was a
motivated
beautiful
guy.
post indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially, what I like about it is, imagine how he's feeling right now, and he finds the time to make a very, very deep post like that and share it with the people. I find it beautiful. He's an educator at heart. It's very nice of him.
Yeah, and I do just want to say, like, guys, everybody watching, everybody who's here, like, that. Listen, Phil is a true hero in this point, right? He's like putting a huge amount of his time and his worth into trying to make a poker site that he thinks is, genuinely better for the players, better for the industry. He's like trying to make poker great again by issuing this challenge to the world, putting millions of his own dollars at risk. So if you guys have not yet, and I'm not getting paid for today. I'm not getting paid to say this, but like, just go to runitone.eu, like, download the client, set up an account. I don't care if you deposit. I don't care if you play today. Um, Wow, that is okay. Two pair by Venny. Kind of crazy. Well, I don't know. You can tell me if it's crazy, but I think he had like 8-7-5-2 on Ace King 10 XX.
No, it's so at this stage, Phil is catching up or trying to catch up. So his situation is unenviable, because Venny can keep trying to find new avenues for exploitation, whereas Phil just needs to plug the leaks. It's a tough spot.
Yep, yep, for sure. Big pot on the right, 7K already. And turn goes check check.
Yeah,
So
somebody in the chat is saying that session minus 35K. Is it really
yeah,
catching up?
it's actually on
Yeah,
the stream. Yeah, on the bottom of
yeah. The thing is, I probably didn't choose the right word. You guys see what I mean. Phil is trailing, and that's why he's in a tough spot. He's playing catch up here. 'Cause let's face it, he needs to win over 400,000 just to be break even. That's an unenviable situation.
Yeah, it's interesting. Venny wins that with just a naked 9, with the 9-3 Queen Jack.
I wish there was a way for me to see the replayer of the hands. That would be
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I think everybody everybody's been wishing for that. Big pot on the left here, and 3-bet pot on the right. Phil with a missed flush draw gets called by 7-8 two pair. It's tough, man. It is. You're not seeing a lot of showdowns won by Phil right now, which has to be some variance in that side. But man, it is. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so far, it does seem. I know we mentioned, it seems like Phil a 3-bet a little bit light earlier on, but overall his 3-bet frequency is a bit higher than Vinny's at the moment, at least today.
Right, which is probably also not a good thing for him. Because with a lot of my students and in general, when I suggest for people when they're trying to play, let's say you see, I'm trying to illustrate the problem here. Even if something would be optimal on paper, if you're not sure how to execute the hand on every street, then it doesn't matter that, let's say, a solver says, well, this hand is profitable pre-flop. If you don't know how to play it out on every street till the river, it's just not going to be profitable for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And in this
absolutely.
situation where Phil is less prepared to face these frequent raises and frequent aggression from Venny, he probably would have been better off tightening. One of his strengths is clearly, or at least should be, playing with deeper stacks, right? Because that's what he wanted to begin with. Well, one way to see the deep stack situation is just reduce the SPR.
Yep. Yeah, that's true.
Increase the SPR. So,
But
reduce the
it's play
amount of
smaller
times you
pots. Yeah,
play
sure.
smaller pots. Yeah. And then perhaps then Phil's ability to kind of read the player and read the action would be helpful. But then again, it's pretty hard to read a player like Vinny because Phil, prior to the challenge, he did a lot of very interesting podcasts and I watched some of them, and he was saying that he's very good at reading timing tells and
Phil with a nice river raise here.
oh yeah, again paired board. What do you think we're gonna see now?
Yeah, well, we'll see if Venny ships it real sick. I don't care if he's got it or not. If he ships, yeah, there you go. Phil
And this time it's
snaps
a
with.
min. Oh
Yeah, they both have queen 10, so it sucks for Phil that the
yeah,
one time he finally gets to snap him, they're both just chopping.
like probably the last year and a half concentrating mostly on online. I mean, I've always played a lot of online as well, but I used to travel for some of the highest stakes PLO around the world, mostly United States. Currently, I'm playing basically anything that runs on Poker Stars, anything above, let's say, 1K games.
And so when you say you're traveling for kind of the highest stakes that runs in PLO, what kind of games are those? You're talking like 1K, 2K? I'm assuming
No,
not.
well, maybe not the highest stakes, but the highest stakes that are open to public. Let's put it
Yeah,
this way,
sure.
because of course
Cool.
there's some pretty huge games which pretty hard to get into. But yeah, typical stakes would have been like 50, 100, 100, 200. So similar to what we're seeing right here. But of course with live poker, oftentimes even if you're playing a 50, 100 or 100, 200 game, there's a lot of people who are very happy to put in a straddle and a double straddle, so it ends up being a pretty high game.
Yeah. I mean, you're only getting in 20 hands an hour max in PLO, I guess, but the
Exactly,
stakes can
yeah.
be pretty absurd. So no, that's cool. That's I mean, between 10 years and very high stakes, it's a rare person who makes it either both that long and to that level of stakes. So you guys should respect the analysis.
Well, thanks, yeah. I suppose the longevity is the interesting part. There's not many people who still love poker after these many years, and we clearly see that Phil is one of the unique ones in here because he stayed with poker for so long. Like if we think about people who he used to play against, there's not many left who still enjoy the game to the same level and who still are at the top level.
Yeah, absolutely. Big pot on both tables here. Half pot on the right on the turn, and full pot for Phil on the left. And Venny ships it again. So
Wow.
This is wild. Very, very, very wild. Like, he's not even losing that much money at Showdown. All of the money has come, or a lot of it has come from these bet folds. Like, I've seen his non-showdown must be insane today. Yeah, he's got to be down like at least 40K at non-showdown, at least.
Yeah, and it's a bit sad to see, to be honest, because what worries me more than just the results at the moment is this thing is mentally tough. I mean, we're watching here, and it hurts to see every time Veni makes this huge ship on the river. I'm feeling like, oh no, not again. Imagine how
Yep.
Phil is feeling. It's tough.
Phil gets check 2 on the turn and half pots here. Is he like, what's the bottom end of his value range here? Is he betting ace-6, betting ace-8, king-6?
Hmm.
And he
How
gets
come this?
check raised. He gets check raised on the river again on the
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Smaller, but
Okay, let's watch it play out and then we discuss. Okay, so we can discuss that hand on the right. So how come the pot was so big? What happened here
didn't see
actually?
if it was 3-bet pre-flop, but
Yeah,
he
because
bet
that kind of
the.
changes
It
the
was
thing.
it
'Cause
was 7K on the turn.
yeah,
So I'm
that's what
assuming
I saw. Yeah.
it would have to be 3-bet, I think.
Right. Because you see that clearly would make a difference whether he's c-betting like ace-8. Or in fact, if it's a 3-bet pot, Phil's not even c-betting. He's actually, so I don't know. I was kind of lost there, unfortunately. Sorry about that. I didn't see the action leading up to the turn, so.
Yeah, I also missed before the turn. I just saw him bet half pot on the turn. So we get a 4-bet here.
Okay. We haven't seen too many of these,
I think
at
this is
least
the first 4-bet.
might have been, yeah.
Certainly the first
Probably.
4-bet to go to the flop.
All right. Well, we're very likely to see all in from Veni here.
Okay, so and almost like, is Phil donking here? Is that a thing in 4-bet pots?
It's a thing, but I would assume that it's
Well,
not.
there,
Okay.
there we go.
Well,
I guess he.
there we go. I guess it's a thing. Yeah, it's definitely a thing. It's not like he percent donking here. It's clearly a reasonable situation to donk. That being said, I think Veni is just very likely to bet
All right, so he has
himself a lot.
king-6 against aces, and
Right, and it holds.
do you like that lead from Phil? So king 10-6 was the board, and he had
Yeah.
king jack 6-8 maybe or something.
Mm. I don't hate it. I think it has merits.
And we have a very big pot on the left here.
All right.
Let's just keep an eye on that as that
Yeah, let's
happens.
keep
I
an eye.
lost.
But just to finish that thought, because that, oh, okay. Let's see. Actually, let's see what's going on here. Unfortunately, again, we're in a situation where we don't know what happened, or at least I don't
Yeah,
know
it's
how.
having the replayer would be amazing.
Would have
It's
been
fine.
amazing. Yeah.
People are gonna get us the clips on. Maybe we'll walk through some of them on one of the
Yeah.
breaks.
Yeah. Without the replayer, unfortunately, it's a bit all over the place. But okay.
So
So what
Veni just
has a
has a
straight? Yeah.
straight, not even the best possible straight, right?
Not even
He
the best
just
possible, but
yeah.
he need the best possible to make that bet. So good bet by him.
All right, so we got a 3-bet pot on the right here. Another 3-bet by Phil. Checks jack 6-3, which based on what you're saying before, is like he'll have to check a fair amount of his three betting range there because
Yeah.
Venny just has
Yeah.
all of it in his flatting range.
Yeah, absolutely. And that we've seen before as well. Phil going for the check raise.
Yep.
And we already talked about it, that especially with
Venny,
the sizing
dude,
choice, he just
Venny
makes
is
his
so
life
sick. He's
difficult.
so sick.
And we're back, actually. So there wasn't a 5-minute break at all. All right, on the left, we see, I suppose, a 3-bet from Venny, and then he opted to continue on this board with a small sizing, which, we talked about a similar situation on the right with Phil being, no, actually, I think Venny with a chance to see bet on a monotone 8-7 deuce. This board is slightly different. So Venny is actually not going to see bet all that often on that board. I don't think. And now that he keeps firing, especially after the board paired, it's very interesting. I suppose we're going to see an all in here on the river from Venny. It's unlikely that he's just checking with the action that happened so far. Yep, we see an all in, and Phil is going to call. Right,
Yep.
because Phil was talking from the very beginning that, with all of these challenges, if one of the players realizes that they're just getting crushed, there's really no reason to continue.
You're locked in, man. Yeah, it's tough. Towards the end of my 501k stint, I had a long heads up match against I don't remember his name, some Swedish guy with Fox name. But yeah, it's like it's grueling if for either side if you think you are on the worst of it, just locked in and just playing more and more. I've done a bunch in the past, but it, I don't know. Yeah, it's very different mentality than most things, especially if you think you're playing really high stakes. If you think you're winning a ton or losing a ton, like it's got to be daunting to think of 20, down 468,000 euros so far, and you're playing, 4 times as much as you played already, 20,000 hands remaining of this. Like at some point, 200,000 would seem quite appealing, especially when it might be different if he had, if his better spots were for longer, right? But like the Perkins challenge and some of these others, they're capped at 20 BB. So the most that he can win back is like 400,000, I bet. So it's not like he another pot to Venny jam on the river.
This is a deep one, yeah.
This was 32K, so 100.
So if he calls, we're looking at like what is it, the 70,000 pot.
Yep, but does not call. Man,
Wow.
it is.
Wow,
It's
man,
tough.
this is like the 8th time today. This is crazy.
When you're hitting 7, 8 losing days in a row, that cannot be easy mentally. You know what I mean? That just has to take a huge toll in terms of like nothing is working. And keep trying to find solutions. So being able to continue to break that down and have confidence to yourself and sort of wake up every morning and come back and keep going at it it's no easy feat for sure.
Absolutely, right. And again, like Phil is unlikely to get discouraged. He seems to be genuinely very happy about the whole challenge thing. He finally gets to play poker. He's been away from the game for quite some time. So it's definitely exciting for him. But at some point, yeah, I mean, it gets tough. And the toughest part, imagine this is the first one, and you have still 5 challenges to go. Does he have 5 or total was 6, right?
Yeah, so he has, I know Perkins is next, which is next. Past his biggest edge. And then it's Chance after that, I think.
Right.
And then I'm not sure if it's Action Jungle or Jungle Action, and the final one is Adams live.
Right. Chance is going to be an interesting one as well, because I think they would probably not stop playing at 250 big blinds deep, right? So it probably is going to be deeper. I don't know what they agreed to, but knowing Chance, I would assume that he would love to play deeper, as deep as possible, right? He's thriving in these deep stack situations, and he's a very different type of player to Venividi. So that's going to be a fun one to watch as well. But the problem with this is, so Phil, let's see what happens on the left. Now Phil is putting in a check raise on the river. Unfortunately, we don't know how we got here, but he's kind of representing a straight and gets the fold.
Benny 3 bets on the left. All right, so paired board here. There is a flush draw, not super connected otherwise. Like the 3 better, would you expect to be like? For me, I would expect him to see bet that quite often.
Well, to be fair, I think he's gonna have to check like half of the time at least.
It's I guess because Phil can have every 8 in his range.
Well, first of all that, but second, Phil doesn't need an 8 to continue on this board, right? And what's gonna happen is, by seeing a situation where you continuation bet on this board and then the opponent calls, you don't really learn much from his call because he can call a lot, right? Because we would anyway expect Venny to be c-betting with the small sizing here. He can't possibly make a large sizing on this board. So, there's the stack to pot ratio is still huge when we're on the turn, and when he's out of position, a lot of turns change the board one way or another, and it's just very difficult to play. So, with the big chunk of his range, he actually prefers to go for a check call, occasionally for a check raise, although that's probably not going to be a big part of his range, of his, strategy.
And so, well, I won't call you out. I was gonna add connection, rooting Phil or Venny though. I don't know how close you guys are. Have to either betray Phil or betray Venny on stream here. But
Right.
I'll stay biased towards Phil here in rooting hard. Another sick check raise on the river here in this spot that we were just talking about. So Veni 3-bets pre, checks flop, checks turn, check pots river.
Yeah, this is incredible, and this is exactly the same board texture and board makeup that we saw already with the queen, queen, 4, 4, 10.
Yep.
Right? Remember that board? Exactly the same type of thing, exactly the same type of play.
Except
And
Phil check raised that board. Or Phil put in the raise, right? Veni bet, Phil raised, and Veni
yeah,
jammed. So this
yeah.
is opposite perspective, but yeah. All
And
right,
we
so
see the
Veni
same
folds there.
outcome. Right,
Yeah.
right.
It's
incredible how often they get into these situations, right? It's not out of, it's obviously common in heads up PLO to get into the situations where you're going to be 3-betting on the river, but just the frequency of this happening is surprising to me.
agreed. Yep. Yeah, I mean it's again, like you said, well, it'll be good. If we do this again, I'll come with some poker tracker breakdown. Obviously you can as well, so we'll
Yeah,
dig
that'll
through
be
the hands.
amazing. I
We'll
think that would
probably
be
know a lot
so
more
much
then.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be so much fun. And again, I'm sort of torn on the issue of how deep do I want to discuss the strategies
I mean, you
here.
might be playing the strategy. I mean, you might be playing the. I totally get why you would to have somebody who actually plays heads up PLO here and in the analyst section, but
Right.
I
Yeah.
totally
Well,
get it.
also, like, apart from that, right, which is a smaller consideration for me, a bigger consideration is that it would be potentially a lot of people are listening, trying to learn something from this, and a lot of it would be misleading for the stakes that other people are playing, right? So if
Sure.
we go too deep into discussing a concept which totally applies in these games, it doesn't necessarily apply in the lower stakes games. And that's something that I'm always careful when I'm giving out advice to people. I don't want to, just because something works in one specific situation, in one specific setting against specific types of opponents, doesn't mean you can just go with this advice and, play lower stakes games. So I wouldn't want to,
Yeah, I mean, this is
to do
specifically
some of
heads
that.
up against two of the best players in the world, right? This is not what you're doing in your SSNL or MS or
Exactly. And
PLO.
also we just have to consider the rake, right? They're taking $1, €1 per hand, right? That's like 0.0 whatever tiny percent. It's negligible, right? If you think
Yep.
about how much rake you're paying when you're playing low stakes PLO, right? Which means you can't play 100% of hands pre-flop. You can't play. You're gonna here I'm surprised to see they don't have any limping range, which is totally reasonable, but it wouldn't be surprising to see that they would limp occasionally.
Two
They
really big
don't.
pots here, by the way. Just 1 second.
Right.
13.5K on the left and the 14K on the right with the bet. So Veni 3/4 pots this, which
Yeah, we
is
haven't seen too much of that.
interesting
Yeah.
to not like to be betting here, but not be betting full pot.
Hmm.
It's quite interesting. I small sizes I get, but it seems like they haven't done 3/4 pot very much. Veni wins the one on the right. Both folds from Phil.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Vinny
yeah,
was probably busy working on, the standard spots, the things that are going to occur, just working hard on trying to understand how he can gain an edge. And, he can watch probably, I don't know, like 200 hours of Phil's footage and still learn less than he can learn in an hour of actually, focused learning.
yep. So yeah, the guy said thank you, and that answers his question. So completely agree. Got a decent sized pot brewing on the left over here, and Phil pots now. So they're
Was
getting
that another
they.
check raise by Phil, right?
I didn't see what it was on the flop, so it definitely
Seems
would
like
make
it
sense
could
given
have
that he's
been.
potting here on the turn. Because I guess it's not a raise and a c bet because the pot's too big. It wasn't a 3-bet pre, I don't believe.
Now the 6 is a Very interesting card. Because Phil, by now, he can still have a set, and he definitely hates to see this card, but it's pretty hard to fold a set at this stage. And in fact, Phil has King, King, 9, 6, and that's a very good point, because of course, Phil, as you said, he keeps doing that, so he definitely believes that he is onto something in his own right? It possibly is just not working for him at the moment, but it's
I mean, you would think
clear that
if he game planned ahead of time and thought like, okay, Vinny's gonna check raise me, raise rivers in these spots like this much, and then it just seems like Vinny's doing 5 times more than you expected, you would adjust, right? Like naturally, you would be like, oh, I have to sort of adjust and start doing that a little bit less frequency or change my ranges, and it just doesn't seem like he's doing that. So he must at least expect this amount of aggression or think it's within reason what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, also the thing about, adjusting your strategy mid-session, it's sometimes a kind of a dangerous thing to do,
Sure,
right?
you can
Because
over
at least,
adjust very easily.
exactly, because at least coming into this match, Phil had a strategy in mind. He definitely worked on something in his own game, right? So to start doubting your strategy, that would be a worse
Oh
sign.
man, here's another Venny gem,
Oh, wow. This is crazy.
which is crazy. It's really crazy. It's a big pot. Like, this is already a big pot in the turn.
Yeah. It's going to be close to 50,000
Set
if
of
it, well,
sixes, and he ships it. Yeah, I would. The pigeon comment on Twitter really got me. So I hope him and Schwartz do play some big mix games. That would make things very interesting.
oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
would really love that. It looks like we have a 4-bet here on the left. So Phil 4-bet, and the flop is 6-7-8. How do you think he feels about this 4-bet range?
Well, I suppose you know by now it's not a great spot for Phil to be in. I mean, especially now that Venny is leading into this board, which he's gonna do with a lot of hands. He
Yeah.
has to do it with a lot, and Phil's hands
Can
are
can
pretty tight.
Phil can Phil like ever just fold to that flop lead? Like what kind of hands would be folding there?
Yeah, he has to fold some of the time. It really depends on what other cards he has in his hand, and again, we're not going to focus too much on discussing that in detail because a hand like this is going to come up very infrequently. First of all, the 4-bet as such, and then a board like this is very infrequent situation. But Phil hates his life there quite often, and
Yep.
well, yeah, we did see a few hands where I wouldn't go as far as saying it didn't make sense. It made sense on some level, but it would have made more sense to do another option along the way. We've seen a few of those hands, whereas with Venny so far we haven't seen them. And of course that's like a selection bias, because we only see the showdowns that we do, and then we're trying to arrive to conclusions from what we see. But
For sure. We have a 4-bet pot on the right here. So Venny 4-bet, Queen 10-5. Phil checks, and Venny is just getting it in. Phil quickly gets it in with set of
right,
fives
and it
and
holds.
chips it.
Good.
Yep.
Phil is likely to close the gap, and this is PLO. Whenever the win rates get lower, the variance kind of dictates where the money goes. And also, of course, the fact that Vinny, I suppose it was his idea to negotiate this rebuying after every 200, whenever the stacks are going over 200 big blinds deep, effective. It's definitely in his favor. So it just seems that he managed to secure a pretty good deal for himself.
Yep. First short days, 2-1.
Yeah,
No 200 BB plus.
exactly. So
So
all the things that he actually needs and thrives on, right? Whereas Phil could have benefited from deeper stack play longer sessions, forced long sessions. I mean, Phil could have probably forced people to say, "Hey, listen, you want to play against? You're gonna have to play 8 hours, right?"
Yeah. And
But
again,
Phil's
like
just a
he
super
might
nice guy.
have fought for some of these things. Like if he was starting right now and he's looked at how this challenge has gone so far, he might have taken the time to actually fight for some of these things.
Mm.
A very very big pot on the right, but like obviously before he didn't really know where he stood among all of these people, and
Yeah,
so he
yeah.
probably was more willing to make concessions then, and now he wishes, um, there's just there's little bits of extra edge that he could be trying to glean there
Mm.
to take back. So there's a very very big pot on the right. Veni was the aggressor on the turn, I believe. It now has checked the paired river.
Do you know how we got that river? Was it a 3-bet pot pre-flop or?
I don't know. No, I only saw the but we'll get a clip after this, I think. And he's winning a bunch of small pots on the left.
He's definitely thinking. I suppose with the flush, is he thinking with the flush really? It's very unlikely, right?
Wow, that is a
Wow,
sick
that's a
call
sick.
by Veni.
Yeah, it's a sick call.
No, 7 of clubs blocker, but yeah, same
All
thing.
right, yeah, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people seem to be asking whether Phil can quit. He can definitely quit. They can both quit. I don't think Phil should be panicking just yet. There's still, over 19,000 hands to be played. And if he sticks to it, if he keeps working hard away from the tables, he can still turn it around. And
Wow.
yeah,
All right, so 3-bet pot from Veni. Veni has a set there. Phil has a wrap. Phil gets there.
Phil gets
Okay,
there. Yeah.
so Veni 3-bets with 3-3-9-9 double standard-ish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Veni's bet is Veni's quarter pot bet is probably better than Phil's call on this spot. Do you think it's a clear fold from Phil
On the turn,
on the turn? That's what I mean. Yeah.
no, I don't necessarily think I think it's an okay call to make because Venny is still going to be bluffing a reasonable
We
amount of
have
the time.
a very very big pot over here. Phil just
All right,
repotted
all right.
for what is
Let's
30
yeah.
36K in the pot right now. To someone who asked show the hand, it's not actually us. You're not seeing our screen. You're seeing the run at once people's screen. So Phil has a
All right,
boat against a nut flush. So that's a pretty big hand.
right. And Venny had a
Um,
nut flush with the 4 blocker as well, so he was blocking boats.
yep.
So it's a pretty easy call for him there.
Yeah, I mean it's really really well done by Veni. I think that call is sick. I'm still not sure about quarter pot in the turn. I mean
I think that's
I
the
guess
sick
if you
part.
think,
The
yeah, that's
call
what I mean.
itself
I
is
think I think if, yeah, the call I think makes sense once you get there. I'm just like, I don't know. Yeah, it's a pretty sick spot on the turn. And I guess he's got the blocker, and he thinks Phil is probably a little bit wide, a little bit too wide in a lot of spots. Um, I don't know. Yeah, it seems pretty boss.
absolutely, and not the first time as well in this session. So it's definitely entertaining to watch.
For sure. Wow, Phil just has literally everything on that board. Um, the 10, 6, and 7. I wonder what Vinny's
Oh
going with
man.
there. Aces holds. I missed that hand, so chance is an even longer challenge at 35k hand. So my guess is if we're staying at 2 tables, you're talking, you know, bare minimum like a month and a half per challenge. Um, and considering he's got 6 challenges lined up, it's you guys are in for a fun year. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and Phil also has Vegas in between, and the announced he's not playing the challenges while he is in Vegas, and he's not gonna, stop his
Yep.
trip for this. So potentially we'll still see the challenge come September.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable. Do you think Phil or Chance wanted the extra 10k hands? I think Phil actually wanted. Runchecks was talking earlier. Wanted 50k hands against all coaches.
Yeah, that's correct.
And
Yeah.
so it's I think Chance probably negotiated down from 50k. So I think Phil wants more hands in all cases.
Right. Which is something I haven't considered doing, which is stupid. I could have also negotiated, but to be honest, even if it was 25,000 hands, just
It's
playing
still,
in
again,
Venirip.
showing this year is 2 months, and they're
Yeah.
playing pretty consistently. It's a long haul.
Yeah.
Really big pot on the left. Phil does pot the river. A lot of misdraws. And Vinny calls.
All right. He had
So
the nuts.
7-3. Yep, Phil's
Well,
got the boot.
second nuts
Oh,
anyway.
7 queen, 7 queen. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if Phil can do it. Maybe we'll cut it down to at least like 30ish if he ships another one. $5K pot on both tables brewing. One-third from Venny.
Another board pair on the river.
Yeah, it's an
Seen those
interesting
before. Yeah.
river card.
I suppose it's gonna go check often enough, or Venny might go for a thin value bet.
Phil pots river, Venny
Would
pots river.
okay. So let's
Interesting
see.
for Venny to bet both streets and pot river. Like, I mean, I guess maybe that's not. Is he still like? Is he betting 2 pair and sets on the turn?
Yeah, of course he is.
Shouldn't Venividi want a reset when he's so much ahead? Yes. Typically, it's in his favor to keep stacks smaller, just because it'll be harder to get back, a little bit less volatile in terms of winning his side bet, which is getting 2-1 on. But at this point, he either doesn't care because it's almost the end of the day, or maybe he thinks he has an edge deeper. But given his win rate so far, he's probably going to keep it within the 100 to 200 big blind range as much as possible,
Hmm.
and just try to keep farming out this win rate.
And also, that's the stack depth that he's the most comfortable with to begin with. So, he's very much playing to his strengths here. And there's really no reason for him to, give a sort of handout to Phil of trying to level the field a bit.
Yeah.
Right. And by level the field, I don't mean that Phil would be somehow much stronger than Venny here in the deep stack situation. I just think that they would be both facing decisions they're not sure about a bit more frequently. And that way the field is a bit more level. Because right now, Vinny seems to be very much on top of things when it comes to standard decisions. Pretty much every decision is a standard decision for him.
Imagine accepting a challenge and then backing out. Yeah, I don't think we need to worry about that too much. I really doubt that that's going to happen. Oof.
Oh, wow. Another one of
Venny.
those.
This is a sick one too, right? There's
Yeah,
no
nothing
straights,
really changed on the
no
river.
flushes.
Yeah,
Board texture didn't change at all.
very interesting.
And so, given the size, there was 3-bet pot by Phil. Check, 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 and then he pots the river.
6 hours, I believe, already, right? I'm tired. Imagine how tired they are,
Oh yeah.
right? And Phil somehow loves to play, let's say, 10-hour, 12-hour sessions. It's crazy. It's crazy. Because I know that Venny is right now for sure also pretty tired. Imagine if he had to play another 5 hours and Phil is still kicking and Phil is still doing pretty good. That would have been a good thing for Phil.
Yeah. Day after day, less study time off the tables for both of them, or like it cuts into your
Exactly,
other
right.
stuff.
Exactly. That is a
And
very good point you're making here as well, because with the 4 hour day, considering that the day is not over, both of these players can go back to their databases and do proper study. Vinny clearly has better study methods, better
I
study
I
approaches,
was
more
just gonna say
effective.
that you talked earlier about being efficient in your study and kind of
Mhm.
refining that, and I think at this point, given that Vinny has just been active at the very high stakes over the last couple of years, like he has to have a more efficient study process right
Oh,
now than Phil
absolutely, yeah.
does drawing from 2015 or something.
I suppose we're wrapping it up. Vinny's
Yep,
saying
it
good
looks
game.
like Vinny's calling it.
All right.
So $56,000 roughly with one last hand to go.
Yeah.
Pretty big comeback, 55K comeback from Valley there of minus 110K.
But anyway, yeah, it was so entertaining. I think we saw some incredible hands which, were just fun to watch. And then a lot of small hands which were very educational, I believe. And
Yeah,
just the way that Phil, stick to his original plan and then started changing it slightly. It looks great. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of this challenge, and hopefully he stays strong and keeps putting in the work.
100%. 100%. Run Chucks, thanks so much, man. It was a real pleasure. So thanks for
Brian,
coming out
likewise.
today.
I really appreciated it. It was great.